Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss about plasma membrane. So this is the chapter number 5 and part of the cell. So plasma membrane, if we discuss about the plasma membrane, so plasma membrane is basically outermost covering of the cell. So as being outermost covering of the cell, the main function of the plasma membrane is to separate the cellular component from the external environment. This is the significance of being outermost covering of the plasma membrane. And the second most impressive character of plasma membrane is that it is selectively permeable membrane. Selectively permeable membrane means all the molecules which are needed for a cell, all the molecules are not directly can get enter into the cell. So this selectively permeable nature of the plasma membrane, they actually allow entry and exit of specific molecule into the cell or out of the cell, and it also prevent other molecule from getting enter or getting out of the cell. So not all the molecules are permitted or allowed to get inside the cell or get coming out of the cell. That is why the plasma membrane is called selectively permeable membrane. Now let us talk about the structure of the plasma membrane. If we discuss about the structure of the plasma membrane, then we can found that mostly three types of molecule, that is phospholipid, protein and polysaccharide. These three types of molecule are basically found in the plasma membrane. Among these three types of molecule, 70% of component or molecule that found in the plasma membrane, this is the phospholipid. That is, it is a one form of lipid which is present in the plasma membrane, and it is the most amount of molecule that is present in the plasma membrane. Next, different types of protein are also present in the plasma membrane. So all the types of protein that is present in the plasma membrane, we can distinguish or we can classify this protein into two types. One is intrinsic protein, one is extrinsic protein, and another is intrinsic protein. Both are same types of protein, but they are classified according to their occurrence. Well, how? Extrinsic protein, they are found either outer side of the membrane or inner surface of the membrane, and intrinsic protein, this type of protein, they are basically found across the plasma membrane. So these two types of protein, specifically intrinsic protein, it function as a channel protein for entry and exit of the molecule. Another molecule that can be found in the plasma membrane, that is the polysaccharide. Polysaccharide is a form of carbohydrate which is also present in the plasma membrane. Now if we think about the function of this protein, which function they perform in the plasma membrane, then we get there is four types of function performed by the protein that is present in plasma membrane. First one, this protein function as an enzyme. Now this enzyme is present inside the cell for different types of chemical reaction that can occur inside the plasma membrane. This chemical reaction can be catalyzed by this enzyme. So here protein also function as an enzyme. Second, it function as a permease protein. As in the starting we have discussed that plasma membrane is a selectively permeable membrane. So permeability means it allow only certain types of molecule to get enter and out of the cell. So permease activity is an activity of the protein which also allow limited types of molecule to get enter into the cell or it get out of the cell. Next function which we can found, that is the protein function as the receptor protein. Receptor protein function as it can recept or it can get a trace of some element, which elements can get enter into the cell. These elements are accepted by this receptor protein. So receptor protein first they take the molecule, and after if they think that this molecule is suitable or needed for the cell, then this molecule can get enter into the cell through the intrinsic protein. And the last one, that is pump. There are different types of activity present inside the cell for which different types of molecule can be needed, but if these molecules are not allowed normally by the plasma membrane to get enter into the cell, then this molecule must be get enter into the cell with the use of energy. In that case, there is some activity which can push the molecule inside the cell. So this pump is actually act as this pushing purpose. Okay, pump is actually by using the ATP by using the energy, it can actually allow the entry and exit of some molecule, either get inside the cell or get out of the cell. Now we are going to discuss another aspect of plasma membrane, that is transport of molecule across the plasma membrane. As you know that different types of molecule can be required for a cell for their different types of chemical activity, different type for their nutrition, just like respiration. So different types of molecule can be required for a cell, but in some case all the molecules are not present inside the cell. So some molecules are present outside the cell. So the molecules that is present outside the cell, that molecule must be enter into the cell for their cellular activity. These molecules, if they present outside of the cell, then these molecules get enter into the cell by different types of transport movement of the molecule or transport movement allowed by the cell. If we discuss or if we classify the transfer movement or the transfer of molecule from outside to inside of the cell or inside to outside of the cell, then there we can see that three major types of transport is possible in case of cell. First one, that is passive transport, second one, that is active transport, and the third one is bulk transport. In case of passive transport, if we discuss about the passive transport, in case of passive transport, molecules that can enter into the cell or can exit from the cell by easily, by without any involvement of the energy. So passive transport is those types of transport where no energy is needed for the transport of the molecule, either inside of the cell or outside of the cell. Now this passive transport can be again classified according to the movement of the molecule into two basic types. First one is called diffusion, second one is called osmosis. Diffusion is one type of passive transport where molecule can get enter or exit from the cell without the help of any type of energy. That means this type of transport is spontaneous movement. Spontaneous movement of the molecule is taken place in case of diffusion. In case of diffusion, spontaneous movement of the molecule always takes place from high concentration to low concentration. If we think about that, suppose example CO2 or oxygen, these types of molecule can move into the cell or move out from the cell according to the high concentration to low concentration, that is towards the concentration gradient. Molecule can transfer, can get into the cell towards the concentration gradient. In case of osmosis, only water molecule can get enter or exit of the cell towards the concentration gradient, that is from higher concentration of the molecule or higher concentration of the water to the lower concentration of the water. So diffusion and osmosis, both in both the case of transport, they have the same process followed. The process is that without the help of energy, and this is the spontaneous movement of molecule. So in case of diffusion, any spontaneous movement of the molecule called diffusion, and if spontaneous movement of the molecule can occur only in case of water, then it is called osmosis, and in both the case they are movement from higher concentration to lower concentration. But if we think about the next type of transport, that is active transport, in case of active transport, they are always movement of the molecule from lower concentration to higher concentration. So it is from low concentration to high concentration. So if we try to transfer a molecule from lower concentration to higher concentration, then in this type of transport, energy is needed because we need to push the molecule from lower to higher concentration. So in this case of active transport, the most important thing that we remember in the active transport, that energy is always required. Energy required in case of active transport. And if we think about the bulk transport, in the bulk transport, more or less more about nutrients can transport inside the cell, so that cell can use this nutrient and get their sufficient energy. And in case of bulk transport, the one more thing is that the size of the molecule should be large against passive transport or active transport. So there, in case of bulk transport, cell always use different types of strategy for taking the molecule inside the body or expel the molecule from outside the body. These are called the bulk transport.